And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome into O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon. This time, we're going to lead off with JMU women's basketball coach Kenny Brooks, as the Dukes have returned from a short trip to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where they played in the San Juan Shootout. The Dukes came back with an overall record of 5-1. They went 1-1 during the San Juan Shootout, and Coach Brooks now joins us. And Kenny, you had a chance to face the Maryland Terrapins on a neutral court, and just judging by the way that you were talking with David Taylor in the post-game show on the JMU and Telos Wireless Broadcast Network, lost an opportunity, you felt, to get the Terrapins on a neutral court.
Yeah, we did. I mean, you have to give credit to Maryland. They're a very good basketball team, but we felt like we could have given a better performance, and we didn't. We came out, and you're going to have games like that. They came out and they really surprised us, and they started off in a 2-3 zone, which we hadn't seen them play all year long. And I thought they would try to match our athleticism, and it kind of slowed us down a little bit. And we took a little bit longer than I would have liked for us to get used to the zone and learn how to attack it. When we finally did, early in the second half, we got some really easy baskets. They eventually came out of the zone. But by then we were chasing them, and we were down by probably 10, 11 points at that point, and never really cut into the lead like we really wanted to. So I thought it was a wasted opportunity because we didn't give our best performance, and we could have had a better showing. But I think we also learned some things from that game. We came back the next night against Houston, and we were able to bounce back collectively as a team, but also individually, some kids who had poor performances against Maryland. So we learned a lot about our team. I think the Maryland game exposed some of the things, the weaknesses we needed to work on, and so it wasn't all lost, but I still felt like we could have had a better showing.
Precious Hall finishes with 29 against the Terrapins, a career-best 7 3-pointers. You mentioned that they did play a lot of zone there. Was it a matter of where Maryland's game plan was to, well, let Precious get hers and we'll try to stop everybody else, or was Precious just hot that particular evening?
Well, Precious played well offensively, and she got it going in the second half in particular, but right now we're putting too much pressure on Precious, and that's a tongue twister. But we can't rely on Precious to lead us all the time and to take the tough shots and get us scoring when things aren't going well. We're going to need production. We're going to need better production from Jasmine Gwathmey. Lady Okafor, who has been really good for us all season long. It was a bad performance by her, and we're going to need some other people. Toya really fought hard in that game, really gave Precious some support, but we're going to need a collective balance of scoring in order for us to win basketball games. That's how we're built. We're not built for Precious to go out and shoot 28 shots in a game in order for us to be successful. So everyone understands that. I thought they all took the onus upon themselves to come back out the very next day to up their play, and they did so, and that's why we had a better showing against Houston.
She was 7 for 15 on three-pointers. Certainly you'll take that on any given night, I would trust, but 10 for 28 overall. You've had this happen to your teams before in the past, going back to the years when Dawn Evans was your leading scorer. And so from the coach's wisdom, how do you kind of apply that to this current team, not to let just one player or to count on one player all too much?
Well, the first thing is recognition, and no offense to my ladies back then with Dawn, I think our cast of characters are more capable of scoring with this group. When Dawn was shooting in volume, we needed her to shoot in volume. We needed her to shoot, pretty much. We kept the ball in her hand a lot, so she came off of high ball screens, and she was a high volume shooter. With Precious and the situation surrounding her, she shouldn't have to bear that load. And Jasmine Gwathmey is a capable scorer. She needs to step up and be able to score on a consistent basis. Toya is going to help her as much as she can right now as she's battling, just getting back into shape. Lady Okafor was a no-show against Maryland, but came back and had 21 points against Houston. Muff does a really good job. I think she had double digits against Houston. And so that we have capable scores. Destiny Jones, I think, had double figures against Houston. So we can't just rely on Precious. Our offense is totally different now than it was when Dawn Evans played, where we share the ball more, whereas opposed to when Dawn was a player for me, we kept the ball in her hand and let her create. There really not a whole lot of comparisons other than their actual stat line. But we need Precious's stat line as far as attempts and whatnot, and taking some of that pressure off of her because the other kids need to really step up.
I did look at the box scores, but didn't look at the play-by-play. Jasmine Gwathmey, when you were playing the home games, in most cases, she was in foul difficulty early, so she never had a chance to really get herself going in the ball game. Was that similar this weekend? Where is she in her game right now? It's not the start I'm sure that you would have wanted from her.
If I knew, I would win a lot of prizes. She's not playing up to mine and her expectations. She's still being, productive for us, and she goes out and she plays extremely hard each and every game. I just need her to do a little bit more, and I think we saw glimpses of that in the American game when she had 22 points. She was comfortable. She was looking for her shots in the right spaces. I thought against Maryland, she came out. She was very high strung. She was passing when she probably should have shot. She was shooting when she probably should have passed. And she wasn't in foul trouble. She just really got out of rhythm. She never really got in rhythm, so to speak. And, then against Houston, she was trying. She's playing hard. And then she got injured probably with about maybe 12 minutes, 13 minutes to go in the game. And we didn't put her back in the game for precautionary reasons. She's fine. But just really never got going like we need her to go. And if she goes, it's going to take a lot of load off Precious, and we're going to be a better balanced team. But if she's not scoring, because we need her to score. Last year we didn't need her to score, so she did a lot of the little things. She's still doing the little things, but we need her to score a little bit more.
Houston certainly a school in name. Folks would know that, but quite honestly, I don't know much about their basketball program. Can you calibrate that game for us, both from your standpoint, offensively and defensively? What did they pose to you?
They definitely weren't the five slamma jamma, with Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler and those guys. Everybody's looking at me like, who is that? But they are. They play in the AAC, which houses UConn, and it's going to be a tough game when they play against UConn. They're extremely athletic. Extremely athletic. They play hard. They're trying to buy into a new system. They have a brand new coach. And he's trying to build that program up. It's a great location. I mean, there's tons and tons of talent in the Houston area. If he can keep them at home, he's going to do a really good job. But they play extremely hard. They just haven't found themselves yet and what they exactly wanted to do. We had to guard against the fact that just didn't want them to play harder than we played. That's where they can really hurt you. But they're athletic. They're going to win some games. They probably shouldn't this year. I think they're probably going to lose a couple that they probably think that they should have won. So it's just going to be a challenge for them. But I think they have brighter days ahead of them. Right now, they're just trying to find themselves. So we had a 33-point lead with 12 minutes to go. At that point, Jasmine got hurt. We didn't want to put too many minutes on Toya. Dee Griffin had fouled out by then, so we limped to the finish line, so to speak, and it was just like, okay, don't get anybody else hurt. We really didn't run any plays towards the end of the game. Just wanted to try to get the game over with, because we were still playing Muff and Precious out of necessity, where I really would love to have them on the bench. So the margin of victory was probably skewed a little bit, but all in all, I thought the first 30 minutes of the game we played extremely well.
While most of us here in the Shenandoah Valley were watching the snow come down on Wednesday, you were bound south of the border, way south of the border, in fact, to San Juan. But it certainly is a nice destination spot. But from the standpoint of a business trip, how did this team handle this event?
Well, I thought they handled it well. It was probably a necessary evil that we had to experience. You go on the road and you're really trying to find yourself. I thought leading up to the actual Maryland game, we had a couple of bad practices. And I don't know if it was because they felt like, okay, we'll turn it on when the game comes. But it was a learning experience. I think we got their attention. And we did not come victorious against Maryland, but we learned a lot about ourselves. And when you have trips like this, to be able to play against a team like a Maryland on a neutral floor, it's almost a necessity for us, because it's so hard to get those BCS programs to come play us. It's actually even getting harder for us to even go to their places to play. And so anytime we can find games like this, it's a plus for us. And going to these tournaments, it's almost like a necessity, because everyone's going to them. I joked, technology today, you can text people while you're in Puerto Rico that are in Cancun, and Jackie Carson and Furman, they were in Cancun, and then I'm texting with Lindsay Edmonds, and they're in the Bahamas. and you're playing against, these quality teams, and it's where they're going, so that's where you really have to go to try to play these games. And, I know a lot of people think that, we were at a beautiful destination in Puerto Rico and probably thought we stayed out on the beach a lot. I think I saw the beach once. I never touched the water because we were always trying to get ready for the next opponent. But, it's just a great opportunity for us to play against high-level teams. Even, to play against Houston, it's a really good game for us. And, so it definitely was worth the trip. I thought we learned a little bit about ourselves going forward. We had a long powwow after the Maryland game, and I thought it went well as far as leadership goes. And so I think that trip's going to bode well for us. And we got a tough week ahead of us, and it's going to be fun watching these kids grow.
Well, while you were there, we were stuck on the side of the road in western Pennsylvania without any cell service. So, congratulations, Coach, on a nice trip.
I definitely would take
it's all part of it, I know.
Yeah, I'll take our situation much over that one.
Very good. We do have other members of the media here at O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU women's basketball coach Kenny Brooks.
How's it going? Talking about Maryland, how different did that team look compared to the team that you saw that went to the Final Four last year?
They're very different. When you lose, your cornerstone and Alyssa Thomas, she was a cornerstone of their program for 4 years. They're trying to find themselves, but you look to your left, look to your right, and there's still a few McDonald's All-Americans out there who play at a high level, and I think they're still trying to find themselves. They need some leadership, somebody to step up and lead them in a vocal way. And they're probably going to have a couple of bumps in the road, which they did. They lost to Washington State right after we played them. But I think there's going to be a team that's going to be reckoned with, and you'll see them when it comes down to Elite Eight, Sweet 16. I don't know if they'll get to the Final Four, but they're a very talented team, well-coached team, and it was a really good test for us.
I know your team takes every game as the next big game, but did you feel like there was any sort of change in mentality at all with how they treated that game, being that it was a much higher ranked opponent, that it was their first game in San Juan?
Well, I mentioned it before. I didn't like the way we practiced leading up to the game, but I don't think the game was too big for us. I don't think the game really affected us because who it was. I thought we came out, we were very stagnant, but never did I feel like that we were nervous, while we were playing them or even before we played them. I thought they just took us out of rhythm a little bit, and it just took us a while to get in rhythm. So from that standpoint, I loved our demeanor. We feel like we can really go out and compete against anyone, and we had a lot of success against them. With running our plays, running our offense, we just really dug ourselves a hole and weren't able to get out of it. And but this group, they're really good. They're fearless. They understand that if they go out and play well, they can play with anyone. And I think, that the margin of defeat against Maryland doesn't tell how close the game was. I mean, it was a 9-point game, and we were starting to scramble and do some stuff and fouling at the end. But it goes to show if we play well, we can play with anyone.
With that bounce-back win against Houston, it seems like when the team is at its best, you have so many weapons. How does your arsenal compare to previous years?
It's very different. We talk about it a lot. Even the closest comparison is the one that was last year with the success we had, and even that comparison it's too difficult. We're just a totally different team. Last year we had Nikki who could really run the point for us, and really she's like a quarterback out there, and we could do so many different things, and add another weapon with Kirby who can score. We were just totally different. We didn't have the post presence like a Lauren Okafor like this team does. But this team has the ability to make its own mark, and with the cast of characters that we have, and we just have to continue to grow. And this week we're trying to get through this week. And then after this week, we'll have our full complement of players. When we get the addition of an Ashley Perez, the transfer from St. John's, and then it'll allow us to start growing in a way where we can start, planning and putting in different kind of plays.
Yeah, following up on that, I guess where are you now that we've hit December in terms of figuring out where your team is? I know you're still waiting for some weapons to come in, but also, I guess how close are you into reinventing yourselves, like you mentioned before the season started?
We've actually, we're stagnant right now. We don't want to do a whole lot of reinventing because we have to do it reinvent after we reinvent it, and we don't want to do all that. We're playing right now, and we're relying a lot on our athleticism. We haven't gotten to the part where we're really a great executing team, and we're still trying to figure it out. Like last year, we would throw Nikki all over the place so she could be the deliverer of the pass. We don't have that person yet this year, and trying to run a play for Toya Jiggets like last year was different than it is this year. So we're still watching it. Again, this is going to be a very important week for us. We have Richmond on Wednesday and Davidson on Sunday, two teams from the Atlantic 10 who are very good. But I think we will start reinventing ourselves after Sunday, after exams. But right now I'm really pleased. I think it's one of the most athletic teams we've had. We're really hard to guard, off the dribble, and we'll continue to try to exploit some of those mismatches that we get.
And let's discuss Richmond. Obviously, it must be nice to be back in the friendly confines of the Convo and have an in-state opponent come in.
It is. Richmond, Michael Schaefer's done a fantastic job. They're playing with heavy hearts. They had the tragedy from this past summer with the two coaches who lost their lives in the air balloon. He's done a fantastic job of just putting the pieces together, and I'm sure they're playing motivated with thoughts of their coaches. But they've had a really good start to the season. They had a couple losses here recently to two very good teams against Central Michigan and Arkansas. But before that, they had wins over against Georgetown and a couple other good opponents. But whenever we play them, it doesn't matter what the records are, who's favorite. It's going to be a dogfight. They get up to play against us. They have a couple kids that we recruited, and vice versa. So it's always going to be a good in-state rivalry, and it's probably going to be a very close game coming down to the wire.
Thanks.
Coach, you have three players that are leading the CA in various statistical categories. Precious Hall is leading by a considerable margin in scoring. She also has the top free throw percentage. And then you also have Okafor, her nearly 14 rebounds a game is tops. And then Muff Mickens, her assist numbers are tops too. Early in the season, sometimes those numbers can be skewed, but considering the opposition that you've played, those are significant statistics to talk about.
They are. I would anticipate those kids being there probably throughout the season. Those are three very talented kids. And two of them had no recognition from the CAA as far as the preseason awards went. So they're playing extremely well. And again, we're 5-1. And I've told David Taylor this a lot. I'm not really going to base where we are by our wins and losses. It's about how we're playing. And they're all getting better, and they're playing in the more prominent roles. They've all had to shift over a spot. Precious was, she's pretty much the Robin last year to Kirby's Batman. And now Muff's, running the point, where Nikki ran the point last year. Lady Okafor is now the center for us as opposed to coming off the bench and playing spot minutes. So I'm very proud with all of them and what they've done. And I think they'll continue to grow and get better and better. And if they all play well on the same night, we're a very dangerous team.
Couple of notes there too. Precious needs just 34 points to reach 1,000 in her career, and Toya is now 53 points away from getting 1,000 there. So it's a good race between the two of them, and you can probably handicap that a little bit there too. It may take Toya a little longer, obviously, to get there, but should be fun.
As long as she gets there, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you get there, as long as you get there.
All right, you do play Richmond. That's at home on Wednesday night. The Spiders are 3-2. Their wins were, as you mentioned, over Providence, Georgetown, and Longwood was the other. And they do come in with the back-to-back losses. That game will be presented by Aramark. And if you bring in a unwrapped toy, you can get in free of charge. Coach, I know you get in free to begin with, but I'm sure you encourage Toys for Tots in the campaign for those that don't get to come in for free or get those toys.
Absolutely. I have a 9-year-old that's at home right now bouncing off the walls. We have our Christmas tree up, thanks to Mrs. Brooks. It's been like a tradition. I go away to the tropics and I come back and the tree is up. All the hard work is done. But to watch my daughter bounce around and understand, Christmas and the meaning of it and what's going on, and in anticipation of Santa Claus coming and delivering presents. I know there's a lot of kids out there who aren't as fortunate, and and anything that we can do or anyone can do to help them have a very Merry Christmas, it's always special. And I'm glad that JMU puts on this promotion, because we can help any kid go out and have some happiness during this holiday. It's tremendous.
Once again, tip-off will be at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. It's the last home game for a while. The Dukes then will be on the road on Sunday, and then next week, no games because of exams, but we will be back here at O'Neill's Grill. We'll chat with Coach Brooks about the two games the Dukes will be playing this week. Stand by, as in just a couple moments, we'll have the JMU men's basketball coach Matt Brady joining us here at O'Neill's Grill.